In the latter half of the 1980s, in the periphery of a little quaint town, there sat a haunting villa called Kane Villa. To most, just its name was enough to run chills down one's spine. A place of darkness, darker, and whispers left floating in the dead of the night. The house, once upon a time, belonged to Thomas Kane, one of the reclusive yet quite peculiar men rarely stepping out into the limelight. He had no family, no friends, and no seeming purpose other than to simply sit in solitude. Thomas's existence was disturbing, but even more disturbing was his sudden disappearance years earlier. People assumed he had either abandoned or died alone, though no one had risked going into the villa to confirm. Throughout the years that followed, the small town experienced a chilling enigma. People started disappearing. Young and old, they just vanished. Initially, each case was considered a single incident, maybe an accident, but the numbers began to grow. Friends and family of the missing searched endlessly, and the town slipped into a shared grief and fear. Whispers began to circulate. People started suspecting something or someone was behind these vanishings. Rumors regarding Kane Villa started circulating once again, linking Thomas's eerie silence with the disappearance. One autumn night, with the winds raging in town, 4 teenagers gathered themselves and decided to test their courage. With their flashlights in hand, they went into the abandoned Kane Villa, determined to know what lay inside. Approaching the house, the rotting walls and broken windows cast strange shadows that made it loom larger. They had a creaking under their feet to the porch as a chill trailed down their spines, opening the heavy front door. Dust was suspended in the air and danced across the flashlight beam like specters. They felt it alive, but it watched them, wait for them. Inside, rooms seemed frozen in time. Sheets covered old furniture, and walls were lined with portraits of unknown faces. In every painting, the eyes followed them, staring, almost pleading. As they moved along the main hall, a strange smell, a mix of rot and mildew, became stronger. Their steps echoed through the silence, and the weight of the air grew heavier. Then they reached the door to the basement. One of them stopped and hesitated, but the others urged him on down the stairs. Here it was cold and stuffy. The faintness of candles showed a room that none of them ever could have conceived. Cobwebby, rust-eaten chains dangling from walls, shelves stacked with jars enclosing odd specimens they hardly dared to identify. And, in the corner, mountains of bones lay tumbled in the dirt. It took them a moment to register what they were seeing. These weren't animal bones, they were human remains. The group of friends started panicking, but something caught one of their eyes, a tattered, leather-bound journal lying on a wooden table. She picked it up and flipped through the brittle pages. It was Thomas Kane's journal, filled with disturbing entries. He mentioned his eternal family, his compulsion to hold people safe inside his home. Entries began to grow disjointed as he wrote of rituals used to trap souls and forever bind them to him. He said that the voices in his head told him to keep them close, that they would only leave him if he let them go. He wrote down the stories of each one he brought, his reason why he took them, and the reason he thought that their souls were stuck behind those walls with him. In one of the boys, one room caught his attention by finding a heavy curtain which concealed it. The small rooms had been built almost within each other, and hardly could hold a person seated in one. The cells were empty, but there were faint scratches and markings on the walls that indicated the pain of those confined. On the walls were scratched out words like help and freedom, and on one wall was a tally indicating days or months someone had spent inside. The teens felt a suffocating wave of dread as they realized that Thomas had been keeping his victims alive, only to trap them in his basement one at a time. As if on cue, they made their decision to leave. Then came a noise down in the basement. A low creak echoed up, sounding as if someone above had opened a door, thereby waking up some presence. Panic swept over them, and they sprinted up the stairs, blundering through the hallways. As they reached the front door, they sensed a chilling presence behind them, an unaccountable coldness at the nape of the neck. It was as if the house itself were alive, pushing them out, but watching them leave with silent anger. They ran to the authorities from there and related what they experienced with stuttering voices, revealing that full-scale probes led investigators to expose this horror concealed in the villa's subterranean caverns to the world at large. Thomas's bad reputation scandalized the townspeople further as more disinterred bodies were raised from under floorboards. Yet another element was added as the victims' families now linked a piece of these missing bodies to this accursed mansion. The house was sealed off, but it still stands, a grim reminder of Thomas Kane's twisted desires. To this day, locals refuse to go near the villa, and travelers sometimes claim to hear whispers if they walk too close. People say it's the voices of Thomas's family, forever trapped in the house of dead bodies, calling out to anyone who might finally set them free.